this time. I still can't see the stream. I hope this is only about a delay. Okay, so I think that it works, but it's another link. Okay, Wojciech, we will fix the recording later, but yeah, I believe we can start now. Okay, let's start again.
Welcome everybody to our platform wars. As we have the end of the year and it's a little bit calmer time for all of us, we have decided to meet together and share experiences working with platform engineering tools, the tools that we are using in our everyday work. And I'm happy to be here with my colleagues from our community, and also with all people who are listening to us and watching us in YouTube. And please feel free to ask the questions as the discussion goes. We are looking for learning also from you.
Okay, great. So I guess this is where we can start. What you can see on the screen now is our initial draft of so-called platform excellence matrix. This is where we want to cover most of the topics, features, capabilities of the things that we call platform today, or AI native platform, AI platforms. There are various different names being in use in the community. Internal developer platform, yet another one. So yeah, we need to start somewhere. We have a couple of colleagues helping us with the assessment, and yeah, I think the main scope for this meeting is to go through all the capabilities of the platforms and see if this is something useful for the potential platform assessment, if this is something we need, and if this is a good attribute, a good indicator, or a capability that platform needs, right? So let's start somewhere. High-level architecture. My very first question for start is, should it be a SaaS product, or is it something we need to deploy on-prem? That's the first attribute. Because for me personally, a proper platform has to be deployed locally due to some security requirements, networking, VPNs, and so on, tunnels, whitelisting, and that's the very first requirement for the platform. So this is about the high level architecture. What do you think, guys? Yeah, another more detailed attribute of it is monolith, microservices, serverless architecture. What's your opinion on that? Do we need this kind of?
From my side, I'm a big fan of a hybrid architecture. I think we should not close ourselves to a solution that is hybrid. What I mean is that you have a control plane or a nice visualization, top user experience on the cloud, and you have the agents which actually are executing the jobs or doing the actual job, and also which are working with your internal secrets on your network. And I think that's a kind of sweet spot where you can actually stop worrying about how to host yet another solution, just to host the agents that are taking care of the actually functionality. That
Okay.
would be my for a hybrid.
What about this one? Do we need the architecture to be distributed?
If we think about the kind of the distribution as a distribution of the functionality,
I mean,
for sure.
distributed system architecture, right? So it scales horizontally, vertically, and it's resistant to failure, split brain issues, this kind of topics.
It should, of course, it should.
So I just one point on this. I cannot, maybe we can treat it also as a SaaS solution, but internal SaaS solution. So if you deploy the platform for the whole company, basically you're the SaaS provider, internal SaaS provider. So you can look at it like that, maybe.
Yes,
so
and,
yeah.
and even 2 cents more here, I would not set border either is like on-prem or in the cloud. I would rather put this from perspective that you can install this whenever you want. So even if it will be used only internally, you still should have possibility to deploy this on top of some cloud.
So it basically should support all the possible scenarios, right? Because some companies may want to use SaaS, some other may want to use hybrid, so it should support all the possible scenarios, right?
Yeah.
So only SaaS, only prem is not enough. Okay, so I believe this closes the first one. The next one is about scale. What do we think about the scale for the platform? So it can be used in various different scenarios with hyperscalers, with startups, with various different enterprises. Government institutions like I don't know, maybe NATO or this kind of organizations. What about the scale?
So, like, this should be flexible, meaning the best one can be used anywhere and can be scaled as needed. So potentially, you can choose specific features or a feature, like treat them as a feature flags, right? You don't need to have everything at the same time. So yeah, some flexible solution that allows you to pick and choose what you need. Of course, you have the main thing is the same, like a control plane, but generally fitting all. That's how I see it mainly.
Yeah. I fully agree. I think the proper platform should scale for enterprises and startups, right? It should be useful in all possible scenarios. And actually, it's kind of similar to the previous point, right? So if everyone agrees, I would close this one, and then we can jump to the scope. And when it comes to the scope, this is more about the target environments, target workloads, or the user data plane, how we call it in some organizations. So what is the scope of the platform? Can we is it only for cloud, or is it also for on-prem, like Metal Cube or Iron Core, Gardener, trying to address the bare metal and on-prem data centers? Is it supposed to be used for all the possible infrastructure scenarios, or maybe only for cloud? What do you think, guys?
I would say that from the beginning it should support mostly on-premise environment, because we are talking here about like building platform for serving another workloads. So from enterprise perspective, it will be most common scenario. Second, from my experience, would be hybrid, as Wojciech was saying earlier, because very often companies need to pull in more resources in some specific times of the year. You can imagine here some, for example, running, I don't know, Black Friday right now, or generating several reports, like in bank specific scenario. So I would start from on-premise and then scale up towards another setups.
Okay, so I think it's again kind of similar to the point number 1 and 2. Every company is different in your organization, because on-prem is more important. But I know lots of enterprises running almost 100% in the cloud, right? And they still need platform engineering, multi-cloud, and this kind of topics. So if everyone agrees, I think we'll keep it like it is for now. Security is a very generic topic. I'm not sure if there's anything specific to discuss here. Of course, more security better for the platform, but I would like to see, some basic features of the proper platform. Maybe Łukasz, maybe Wojciech, you have some experience from your present project. Are there any specific, or is there anything unique about platform engineering related products security? Something really special apart from default RBAC and ABAC and this kind of stuff?
So I think that the aspect that's important for security is actually that makes it different and more difficult is that our goal is in democratizing the access to underlying resources. So we always have to have a very careful dance between securing our organizations versus enabling the development teams or other teams. And it's especially important because without enabling them, we can end up in this kind of broken shared ownership. What I mean by that, if you don't democratize not only creating the resources, but also monitoring them and providing observability, then you are going to end up in this kind of old model where DevOps teams are always feeling responsible for the status of databases, virtual machines, and so on. And we are going back to this kind of not working DevOps model. So I would say this dance between security versus democratization.
Okay, let's jump to the next one, which is in some organizations quite problematic. What about the stack? How the platform should be actually built? Because we already know that most companies use Docker, most companies use Kubernetes, most companies use some sort of cloud services. And if you look into how it is all built today, in most cases it's Golang stack, right? Argo CD Golang, Terraform Golang, Helm Golang, Kubernetes Golang, Docker Golang, right? So with some exceptions like AWS command line client, which is written in Python, Boto-free library. What do you think about the technology stack? For me, the preference is Golang because it's just the natural way of integrating with cloud and infrastructures. Do you think that this is the valid requirement on our side? Like we want the platform to use maybe in this case Golang just because the whole ecosystem is built the same way. What do you think about this requirement?
I have one thought here, basically from standpoint of extendability perspective. It's like important to keep everything written in Golang because then you can build very easy your own internal extensions for the platform. And especially that we are talking about like building like very open platform, this will be like a valid point here.
Yeah. So if everyone agrees, I'm going to underscore Golang.
I would say the extension points should be done in Golang or some other language that is popular in our community. But if something is closed source, I don't think it matters so much, except if the platform has a very high memory and CPU footprint and it's hard to actually host and manage.
I can imagine some exceptions like Artifactory, for example, written in Java, but exposing really nice API or REST API interfaces, right? So we are just consuming Artifactory services and features for the REST APIs, and then we don't care too much about the backend engine, right? But when it comes to the core of our platform, we don't want our platform to wait 2 minutes for garbage collector to be initialized or anything like that, right? So it has to be fast. It has to be built on top of the best technology stack for cloud, which is basically Golang today. But yeah, like I said, I can imagine some extensions, plugins, modules being built in the other technologies. Okay, when it comes to the next one, do we want our platform to be recognized by the big guys like Gartner, Forrester? I don't want to mention the other, like Deloitte, ThoughtWorks. There's lots of different consultancies out there. Do you want the vendor to be known? Because what is Also related to this topic is about how mature the vendor is, how mature the product is. If we can, build the whole infrastructure, the whole organization on top of the product, which is, more future-oriented, right? I would like to avoid, the product to disappear from the market in 2 years, right? Or I know Broadcom or VMware or Heptio acquire the company behind the product and change everything, change the licensing, change the pricing, and so on. I would like the product to be stable. Do you think that it's a good indicator if the product has, this kind of support from the big consulting companies?
See, this is the tricky question because it involves a lot of bias. So some being recognized by one doesn't mean really that it is or it is not gonna happen what you said, basically. So I mean, it's a good thing, but not a not a hard requirement. What I'm saying is, so if the other points are valid, this is not a blocker at any point, right? If you're not, not recognized by those companies.
Mm-hmm. What if you have a startup of 3 people building a platform?
That's my point. Like you don't. But they're not gonna be having this kind of pull anyway. Like this is, for enterprises. But we mentioned before that platform should be flexible. So we cannot now go in and say, okay, this kind of platform might be not suitable for the biggest enterprises, but it's good for startups do pricings, right? So maybe this is good for somebody that wants to very cheap but still working thing to scale fast or whatever. So that's my point. Like we cannot really block this just because it's not recognized by Gartner, for example.
Yeah.
I would say that it's thing nice to have, but not the most important ever.
Okay, and then we can jump straight.
I just want to add one small thing is that definitely as others said, it's might be important, but I think also what is important if you are working with small startups is that there is a clear way of migrating off this platform just to limit risks. So, for example, if a startup is using heavily well-established standards or projects that give you this kind of guarantee that if something happens in 2-3 years, you have a clear migration path.
Yeah, actually, a good path could be a CNCF sandbox path, right? Which is like semi-enterprise or something future oriented to be standardized to have a lot of support from the community, but still small enough to be treated as a kind of experimental R&D product. So, yeah, I can imagine CNCF sandbox path to be the best way to go actually.
It's a good segue for the next one because that's potentially guarantees the what you mentioned, Wojtek. If you have ability to basically have open source.
And this one is related to the previous topic. Do we expect the platform to be open source so we can contribute as consumers of the platform? This is, for me personally, it's a very important topic because as an enterprise, I would like to have influence on how the platform is built. I would like to add plugins. I would like to add customizations. I would like to improve the UI so it looks more natural to my organization. What do you think about this part? Is it a hard requirement, or should it be like 50-50? Maybe a core should be open source. Some parts should be just enterprise. What do you think, guys?
I'm very heavily biased here, and I would agree with you. It should be 100% open source. We saw over like the last 20 years a lot of examples that if something was not open source, then very often companies are hitting very hard wall at some point. So from my side, it should be like hard requirement.
So one thing that basically is a requirement in this case is being able to audit what exactly are you using. And since this platform will be running basically potentially everything in your company, this kind of potentially feasibility of being able to just go in and check it out what exactly is being done there is very high in the list of security issues. You can hire some company to just do the audit for you. If you have ability in your company, you can do it yourselves, of course. But generally, evaluation kind of stuff you mentioned, for example, NATO, right, or other such organization, governments, whatever, big corporations, they will prioritize this kind of thing that they are able to be easily audited code like that, right? It's not just random application. It's a basic building block.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so from my side, because I used to build such things, I think that that we should also allow ourselves to, of course, it should be important criterion, but we should also be ready to accept the solutions that have parts of their source code closed, but as I said, in such a way that there is always migration path, like open-ended, like open core and closed maybe integrations, or closed core and open-ended.
Yeah, but at least for the extensions, for the customizations, there has to be some part of it open source, right? So I think everyone agrees that. So let's maybe put a question mark here, because I think it shouldn't be 100%. Shouldn't be like a hard requirement. It's just 100% open source, right? Otherwise, it would be really hard for the vendors to support this kind of models when everything is for free.
It can be defined that the core of the platform is open source and all of the extensions might be under different license.
Okay,
Yeah.
The next one, which is also pretty close to the previous topic, residency controls. Do we need full control over the data centers, over the platform? In the present political situation, which is changing from day to day, as we all know, right? Is it a requirement for the platform to be fully independent from the influence of other continents, countries, whatever it is? Do you want to have full influence on how it's developed?
I think that's now is. I think that's expectations. That's the expectation for most of customers to have an instance which is US based and European based, and let's call it Asian based. And this is what we can see happening for the last 5-6 years. But I think now this trend accelerates, and now everybody are expected to be able to tell the provider where the data is stored. So I would say yes for SaaS provider.
A good example is actually, let me continue for a second, Apiro project, which is developed by European Union and SAP, Kano, which is developed by Amazon and Cisco, which is mostly about the US companies, right? And OpenVela project, which is mainly developed in China, right? So you can find a couple of different, projects or implementations of a platform being developed all over the world, right? And I think that's the right approach, actually. So in every part of the world, we have like a local instance or a local distro of a platform which you can use if you want, of course, right? If you want to use other tools from the being maintained on the other continent, it's fine. But you have at least the option or the choice.
So just to be clear on this, because that thing you are mentioning, meaning sovereignty, where the data is. So if you are using any of the hyperscalers currently, you don't have really any control over it, because it's always maybe the biggest one in the US based, and they are beholden to the US law. So even if you think their data is yours, it's not really yours, because at any point then they can just give it up to US government or whoever is at power, right? So that's one thing. But the other thing is, are we talking about who makes it? Because then it's harder. Then we don't have really fully control potentially, because you never know. If it's open source, then contributors can be from all over the world, and do we have a control for that? Like, for example, if we just don't allow people from outside the European Union to contribute, stuff like that. So this is might be a distinction, right? So it's good to have it, but from my perspective, it doesn't mean 100%, right? It might be, just sovereignty in general, not exactly being beholden to big companies, hyperscalers specifically, right?
That's also why NIFOS, the new CNCF for Europe, is so much important. So we have like a local, European CNCF branch, right? And this kind of initiative. So yeah, we'll see how it grows, but I think this is a pretty hot topic today. And when we build a platform, we need to be sure that in something we might want to control long term. Okay, when it comes to the industry compliance standards, do we expect from the vendor to be certified? I mean, let's assume we are.
Yes.
Perhaps it's
Yes.
not important for
Yes.
startups, but when it comes to enterprises, banking, industry, this kind of stuff. So I believe this is a mandatory requirement, right?
This should be, at least if it's not ready yet, meaning they don't have it, at least in a roadmap or plan to, stuff like that. So if its platform is new and doesn't have it yet, it might be they are planning to do it in I don't know, next year or something like that, or 2 years, whatever. But the client needs to know that if it requires this kind of certification, then they have to know when it's going to happen, right? In the potentially, if they want to buy it.
Okay, let's jump to the next one. Centralized RBAC and identity. Do we expect from the platform to provide us services or features like segregation of duty, for example, allowing us to split service providers versus service consumers into two separate groups, federated identities, so we can collaborate with between different internal teams or even external organizations. What do you think about this part? Which is kind of blurry, but every organization is different, every platform is different. But my question is, do we expect from the platform to deliver capabilities related to this topic, so we can organize the platform in a way that fits into our organization?
It's kind of a given, at least from my perspective, that it should have some capabilities. Even if they don't offer full spread of it, then it should be integration in available solutions to be leveraged like that, like let's say Entra ID or whatever else is potentially being used in corporations or organizations. So yes, that's my short answer.
Okay, if there's no one against it, so we can jump.
Maybe I would just add one more thing, is that I think from my perspective, it's important that the solution is using my identity provider, whatever I'm using. I don't have another system, another user management that is separate from my central management. That I would just add it one. And second, I think federated identity is extremely important because it simplifies actually accessing external resources, and we can actually cut relying on hard-coded credentials, whatever they are.
Now, one question here is actually, are we going to create a custom directory of teams, departments, users, developers, engineers, SREs, and so on, or are we going to import what is currently in use in LDAP or Microsoft Entra, this kind of services, right? So I think this is one of the biggest questions to me. If we build a new platform, which is organization-wide, shall we, start from completely from scratch, starting with mapping, and start, try to build a new structure, a new tree for teams, for departments, or shall we, import what is already existing, which may be not ready actually to handle the modern, platform engineering models?
Unfortunately, our answer here is both, because there will be different examples from the market. There are some organizations which have like very clear split for separation of duties, and there will be some which needs to be modernized. So unfortunately, we need to support both ways. Either we can import a ready-to-use organization structure, either we need to be able to build something from scratch.
Yeah, I think that's exactly how it is. The next one is kind of interesting. It's about the interfaces, allowing us to talk to the platform, to communicate with the platform, right? And starting from the beginning, it's about CLI command line interface, which I believe everyone knows. Kubernetes users usually depend on kubectl. Instant messaging, which is about all sorts of chats, very popular today. GitOps, front-end portal, kind of web UI, REST APIs, so you can trigger all the APIs directly with curl, with Terraform, whatever tool we have. AI interfaces, MCP, A2A, IDE. I think this is getting more and more popular. So we have direct integration from inside our IDE, like Visual Studio or JetBrains or whatever it is, with our platform. This one is new. I didn't have it on the list before, but if you assume that the platform is main or one of the biggest customers of the platform are developers, we would like them to communicate with the platform from inside IDE whenever it is possible, right? And the tickets, Jira, ServiceNow, this kind of tools. This path has to be also supported. So according to this list, there is like 6 interfaces that we need to support, and I believe that in the future there'll be one more, voice control, added to the stack, but there is quite a lot. So do we expect all these 8 interfaces to be supported by the platform, or maybe I don't know, or maybe front end is enough? Because there's a lot of products on the market today, like GetPorts, Cortex, Humanitech, lots of portals, backstage portals offering a lot of UI capabilities, but nothing else than this, nothing actually else than the UI itself. So what do you think about this one? Do we need 8, 9, or maybe 1 is enough?
It might be a little bit premature, but I would focus on MCP integration, especially that we are talking about something which needs to be alive and grow together with Company. On the other hand, we understand the complexity of whole solution. So by using MCP servers in connection with AI agents, we might speed up a little bit adoption of the platform and create the situation that it will be easy to develop new extensions, it will be easier to integrate pre-existing systems and so on. So from my today's point of view, I would focus on MCP servers and how to simplify whole adoption.
I don't think it's a totally good approach. I agree. That's one way, but it needs something like besides this to have like implementing currently the AI with full support of building things on the platform and being able to provide the full functionality is very complicated. It's very hard to do it properly to make sure that it works. So it has to have more standard solution, let's say. So at least the CLI and the GitOps should be a baseline, and from my perspective, and AI can be built on top of it, of course. For UI like portal, front-end portal like IDP, that depends, but generally it's also something that's kind of a standard, I think. Right now, like everybody's selling IDP, even if it's just the IDP as you mentioned, right? Meaning nothing else on the bucket. But still, that's for more people that not exactly are, versed in this kind of thing. So maybe they need just click some buttons and provision something quickly without any more hassle. Yeah. So I would say CLI is a must, AI is a second, and then front end is a third, something like that.
Okay, so we need multiple interfaces, but the priority of implementing them is different, right? So some companies may need, you know, front-end portal more than the backend REST APIs, but some other companies may need, you know, more AI. You know, those which are more future-oriented, they may want to consume, you know, more MCP A2A protocols than the older REST APIs, right? So I think that's the answer to this question. So it's about priority basically, right? Not about if you need 8 or 9 of them. It's about priority. Okay, that's all about this topic. Next one, API first, declarative. So should we assume, and this one is actually important because it touches one of my favorite topics. Should we allow the platform engineering teams to use tools which don't provide any APIs, any interfaces we can connect to? Should we, or should it be rather an API first infrastructure, API first platform? So every tool, every component, every feature is available for the REST APIs. What do you think, guys? And you know, I have my strong opinion here.
Yes.
Yes.
There is nothing to comment on this, basically.
100%?
I mean,
Yes,
that's the only way to making sure that previous points also working, actually.
Yeah, because when we have APIs, we can move into this autonomous infrastructure that we are all dreaming about. And without APIs, it's not possible. This high level of automation across your organization.
Yeah. Okay, so I believe there's nothing to discuss here. Of course, there are tools like, you know, Spaceless, for example, which can abstract the way Terraform works under the hood. So they offer like, you know, kind of a layer of APIs on top of the tools which don't provide APIs by default, right? So there are many different, you know, ways of mitigating the problems. We don't care how it is implemented. If you have API, it can be a part of platform, but if you don't have any APIs, it's not like that, right? So even if this is implemented in a different way with some wrappers or other tools, or it's fine, but the API has to be there. Multi-fronted portal. Yeah, this one is also kind of interesting because there is lots of different tools on the market, especially the portals which have monolithic architecture, and I believe, Łukasz, you know the best. The tools like Backstitch, for example. Do we expect the portal, the web user interface, to provide multi-frontend features, multi-frontend architectures, so we can, you know, create our own custom UIs, so we can extend it easily, or what are your feelings?
I think there is like direct connection from this point to the previous ones about open source, open APIs, and so on. And we are touching here basically in what model companies are adopting the platform. So if we imagine that some enterprise is buying some ready-to-use product, there should be ready-to-use some front-end. If we are talking about open source platform which is adopted by some enterprise, there should be API which allows easy build for some dedicated front end in some organization. So it depends on the details of implementation here. But if we are treating seriously previous points about open API and ready-to-use libraries to build some integrations and so on, there should be no issue to provide some front end.
Yeah. What I like the most about this one is the context-aware composition. So if you are a developer, you see a different view, you see different content of the portal than your manager, than testers, than networking team or database team or developers, right? Or maybe the FinOps people responsible for the budget, right? So every person, every actor can see slightly different features and compositions of the UI interface, right? I don't believe there are platforms implementing this feature today. I think this is more like a future oriented. But what I expect from the platform is readiness to provide these kind of features long term. Okay, B2B service marketplace, including Discovery, which is about extending the platform with, exposing through the platform individual services like, for example, databases, Postgres, MySQL, Kafka, Confluent Kafka, Atlas MongoDB, Dynatrace, Datadog, Neuralink, all sorts of different services that we could potentially expose through the platform itself, right? So that's the idea behind this one. It's not about so what I want to avoid when thinking of platforms is like a tool allowing us to automate A or B. What I expect from the platform is that every team in my organization and in bigger enterprises, it's about hundreds or maybe even thousands of teams. Every team can expose whatever they want, whatever service they want, at any time they want, offering any interface they want. Most likely REST API or MCP protocols, but not only. There are also some other binary and non-binary protocols they could potentially expose, right? So the idea behind this capability is the ability to expose any service inside your organization so the other teams can consume. Is it something mandatory? Is it something we expect from the platform, or maybe it's too far?
Like, if we take into consideration what we're talking about, API, ability to have this kind of marketplace, well, service catalog, whatever you're gonna call it, is the only way to making sure that it's actually feasible in the long run. Because otherwise you have just, I don't know how many people just dedicated to this kind of thing, to adding this, to making sure that, yeah, that's never gonna work. So basically, this is the way forward with this product, meaning you have to have something like that to be able to just go in, see, and add it, right? Or just use it to whatever it is provided there. So just looking at hyperscalers currently, which is exactly that, how can you spin up things, right? You can just go in and just click some buttons and whatever, or CLI commands, and you have it, right? So this is the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's a good comparison. Hyperscalers are very similar to this concept here. Okay, anything here else to
I would add
here?
one more thing is that if you take a look on the structure of the teams, in most of the companies, developer teams are growing much faster than platform teams and DevOps teams. And this is the only way actually to take DevOps and platform teams from off the way of interactions between parties and companies. I don't need to, as an experienced platform engineer, to accept some kind of trivial or some small API sharing. What is important for me that I have it explicitly. It also might help us to support the specialized teams. If we have teams like data, providing database or something else, they can actually be the owners of their own interactions. And again, you don't need to have a platform engineer there. Of course, we are having everything into one platform to be able to capture and monitor these interactions, but we don't need to be an active participant there, unless we need to.
Yeah, fully agree. This topic will be discussed in more details in the next sections of the document. So let's keep it for now. Infrastructure abstractions and coupling. This is also something important, and not so many actually vendors and platform engineering teams speak about, right? By abstractions, I mean one-liners. We don't want developers to fulfill 200 long lines, YAML definitions, or even Terraform ISL, or whatever it is. We don't want developers or the consumers of the platform to deal with very complicated manifests, right? We want them to be able to achieve their goals as quickly as possible. And for me personally, it is harder to imagine anything easier than one line, right? When it comes to the manifests, at least. So what I expect from the platform is the feature or the capability allowing me to define one-liners for every single component of my infrastructure. It can be database, it can be Kubernetes, it can be bucket, whatever it is, I don't care. But also coupling. So whenever I deploy a Kubernetes cluster, the system knows it needs to deploy VPC, it needs to deploy proper subnets, it needs to deploy proper firewall, gateway, whatever it is, right? So the platform, from one side, it allows me to abstract all the resources in the most simplified way, which is about one-liners. But from the other hand, it knows what kind of components are building particular blocks or particular resources in our infrastructure, right? And I think these two are mandatory. Any thoughts on that?
Mm.
Yeah. Go ahead, Pavel.
I mean, this part is I'm not sure if it's a good way to look at it, but let's see. So this is also the only way that I can see that MCP integration would work, because you have to generate something, and then you have to have templates available for this kind of thing. So or just other interfaces, because we were talking before, not only writing this manifest, but using other tools. So it has to be as simple as possible, but the complexity can be like hidden by using templating or otherwise. So yes, this is a given that needs to be possible. However, you need to also have the other way around, meaning that if you need to or want to, you can extend it however you want. So it doesn't have to be just one-liner.
Yeah, there should be a possibility to overwrite a detail
Yes.
of the manifest, right? If you
Override
want,
and extend.
but only if you want, right? If this is your intention, not it's not about forcing you to fulfill 200 fields of your manifest. Like it is in actually most of the organizations today. Okay, when it comes to multi-cloud, is it required? I think this one is relatively obvious, right? We should support all sorts of clouds, including private, hybrid solutions, and also, but what is special about this one is a single switch cloud selector. And I don't know how to actually call this feature in a better way, but yeah, just to imagine, let's assume we have a WordPress application deployed into AWS, right? And we want it to migrate to Azure. I would like to have a single switch, single parameter allowing me to switch the data center from A to B. I don't want to go through the migration. I don't want to do backups, deal with DNS, anything like that. I would like to have the capability to migrate from A to B in the shortest possible way, which is just one single attribute describing my intent. This one is more futuristic, I'm pretty sure about that, but I would like to have this feature in place. What do you think, guys? Is it important, or especially when it comes to?
It really depends on the size of organization. I think most of the organization till they are really big, they usually want cloud. Then they are hybrid, let's say on-prem and cloud. And when the organization are really big, they are multi-cloud. So the platform should give us a framework that we can actually create such a solution. Because in the end, the platform is not going to give it out the box. Probably it will give us some kind of framework how to think about it, how to structure a solution to solve this problem.
So it's more about the readiness to implement this kind of features if you need them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me extend the section later. Okay, one of my favorite topics, reconciliation loop. Yeah, that's this one is very close to actually the Kubernetes core architecture. Do we need something like this? Because there's quite a lot of tools on the market which work in a way, you can trigger an action, it does something, it executes a workflow, it triggers some scripts, it triggers some actions like GitHub actions or Jenkins or whatever. It triggers some jobs, but after the job is done, it forgets about reconciling or checking if the actually expected desired state is still there, right? So what do you think about this one? For me personally, this is a mandatory feature of a platform because I would like my platform to ensure every minute, every 5 minutes, every hour that the desired state is there, right? So that all projects, components, systems, APIs, users are deployed in a way I expect.
I fully agree, though I would ask question from different perspective. If we are building platform which by design should host as many applications and as many important systems in organization, so basically we are expecting that it will be stable and predictable, which means that we need to actually use some reconciliation loop just to increase stability and predictability of the platform. So from my perspective, this is like one of the core features of the platform, that it will be able to self-heal and it will not require manual operations for most of the things which are happening inside.
Okay. The next one. This is a topic we already discussed before. Distributed architecture, distributed nature of the platform, and yeah, the rolling upgrades feature is actually something that we may want the platform to provide. And if we assume that the platform is an enterprise product, that there is like thousands or hundreds of thousands of users of the platform who are being spread all over the world, working in different countries, different continents, different time zones. There is not so much room actually to do so-called, for any kind of shutdowns, which are usually caused by the upgrades and new releases, new versions, and so on, right? And one of my requirements for the platform like this is to be the ability to upgrade the platform to the newer releases with no downtime in a fully transparent way. So I don't need to announce any kind of shutdowns, green zones for the users, right? So it's always available to them. What do you think about this one?
I could use my previous argument. If we are building foundation for running basically business for some organization, there's like a given feature. It must be there.
Yeah. If everyone else agrees.
Yeah, I would say like it's good to have because if we can schedule a downtime, I know it's not for what you would like to have, but usually to make a solution fully HA is actually increasing the total cost of ownership of such a platform. So you as engineers, you should be able. So I would maybe change it in this point to saying whether it's possible to set up something HA, because this is also a business decision. We are taking a look how much it costs us to be offline versus how much hardware we want to run. So I can imagine if I have failover that will take 30 minutes or 20 minutes, maybe I don't want to have HA, but I want to be sure that I can actually set up a new instance of the platform. So that would be my my point about making it more like a slider.
I would argue here, maybe I'm a little bit biased, but the thing is that very often decision makers are assuming that it will be like 20-30 minutes of downtime or rollback or whatever. But then when actually it happens, situation very often is quite tragic because clients are like raising their voices that, come on, it should not be down. And in the end, basically everybody is asking why we didn't have DHA in the first place. So this is like one of the points where I would argue that from the beginning we should be very resilient, especially that our aim is to run global platform for hosting applications for for whole organization. But of course, I'm biased here, so we can argue.
I mean, it depends on the organization, right? For startups, it's not so much important, and we need to remember it's about the control plane, it's about the platform. The user workloads are still running, right? When we upgrade the platform, the users' workloads are not affected. The only problem is that they are not possible the development teams, the business teams are not can't make any changes against the infrastructure, can't deploy new releases, new versions, patches, hotfixes, anything like that. So I think every case is different, but for some it's a mandatory feature, like 100%, but for startups they don't need it at all, right? So it's different. Okay, when it comes to APIs and platform mesh, Wojciech, do you think, because this is something actually new in this industry, right? Do you think platform mesh, API mesh is a mandatory feature of a platform, or can we, do the things in the old-fashioned way?
I always do things in old-fashioned way, so just to be a cliche a little bit. I think API mesh, just to explain the concept, is about letting all the teams to share the APIs between each other and have this information on one platform, and plus to have a multi-tenancy on top of that to be able to actually to ensure that people can share between each other. And I think that's necessary for having this kind of full democratization, because I think it's just a repetition a little bit of points we were discussing about that. The only way of scaling platform engineering, the only way of scaling DevOps engineering is to remove DevOps or platform engineer from the critical path and just have them where it's needed, where the expertise is needed, and rely on automation, for example, policy as a code, maybe with some AI magic, to be able to capture situations where the intervention is needed. And whether there's also, that would be my point of view.
I think you touched an extremely important topic to me, which is actually new in my understanding. Is like, because normally if we have a platform and there's a new service being available through that platform, like Confluent Kafka, right? Because we need Confluent Kafka, so we sign a contract with Confluent, and we expose Confluent services through our platform, so the development teams can consume, right? But to achieve that, we need to hire a couple of DevOps engineers, SRE engineers, networking guys, security guys, to enable the Confluent interfaces to be available through the platform, right? In case of API mesh, platform mesh, there's the possibility actually to skip all the manual or semi-manual work. We don't need actually the SREs, we don't need the platform engineers to work with Confluent to extend our platform with Confluent services. We can somehow automate, we can mesh all the APIs in a way so Confluent services can be available for our platform, but without any extra work needed on the SRE and DevOps side, right? That's what you mean?
So you can use the ready boxes already existing, so you can actually pick up and you could actually treat it as your private public cloud. You just get the networking, you get a Kafka, and connect pieces together. Or you have some big box that you just feel what you need, and you directly, for example, connect with the database team. You get also exposed information about how to monitor the database fill out as a developer, and you can include it to your monitoring. So you also cut this kind of middleman telling you how to monitor your resources.
Extremely important point.
Depends on.
Yeah. So with platform mesh and API mesh, we can remove the middleman, which is SRE, DevOps team in most cases, and integrate APIs in a faster, more efficient way, right? Directly with the service providers.
I would think about it as a little bit like optimistic locking in software engineering. So you assume the optimistic locking doesn't mean that DevOps or platform engineers, the experts who are running these huge systems in big enterprises on such a huge scale, that are out of the picture. They are, but they can actually do something more than just adding one number in YAML file, which indicates XYZ.
This one is actually a bigger topic, but yeah, I was not aware of this particular scenario, so you can remove the middleman. But okay, anything else to add to this feature? If not, I believe we will have to close the discussion for now. We reached out to the 20 points. The last one is 54, so there's still quite a lot of stuff to discuss. And it was really fast because yeah, all these topics are rather complicated. So I think it was a nice discussion, and yeah, this also confirms to me that platform engineering and building the proper platform is not actually easy topic, right? Because when it comes to details and in the different features, different capabilities, the discussion is really long, and I was actually expecting this. So yeah, let's close it for now. We can continue in the next sessions. And other thoughts from you, Łukasz, Paweł, Wojtek? What do you think about this matrix? Is it useful for you? Actually, my biggest question is: do you see this matrix useful? The way we are, reviewing all of these, capabilities and features. Do you see it useful, or like it's just overcomplicated?
Yes, and this is basically what I wanted to add here, especially that you showed that we have like many points to run through on next session, is that it's very important, especially for system like that we want to build generally used platform in organization, that we need to go through some analysis, because this is not like one application which might be very easily replaced in the future. When we want to build some foundation which will be growing together with organization, we need to ensure from the beginning that it will be very easily extendable, that there will be APIs ready, that internal mechanism like the reconciliation loop will be in place, just to avoid huge technical debt from the beginning when we start building such thing. Because this will be, again, not one application. The goal is to build something which will be widely used inside the organization.
So I have one point that we haven't touched, but this should be maybe at the start of this next time. But basically, we are talking about something that's not only technical change and technical implementation, but there is a lot of philosophical change, I would say. So you have to convince sometimes people to connect to this, or buy in, that's the better word, to buy into this, because this changes a lot of things, how you do them, how you approach things, how you build them, and in the future you need to be more aware that there is sometimes there will be a lot of like pushback, because we are talking about making sure that something takes let's say not really, but that's how it looks like, takes work away from some teams. So but those are the same teams that are gonna have to implement this, which is that's basically saying that they are working on something that they then might be fired for. Which is, we have to say, no, that's not exactly it. It's just changing the scope of your work. It's just making sure that you are spending your time not on tasks that are just, as you say, like adding a number to the YAML, but basically taking big picture into account and making sure that it works as it's supposed to. So that's a point that might be shorter than I'm talking about, but just saying that somewhere around, yeah.
And one common topic whenever we are talking with DevOps or platform team member is that they are massively under the water and they cannot dream even about in bringing anything more complex, because always the priority is on application. Naturally, because this is what brings money to the company. It doesn't need to be this way with the new wave of all the platform engineering platforms that we are going to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess that's all for today. Yeah, I think we'll be continuing the discussion in the next weeks. Thank you, everyone. I think that was quick and quite interesting discussions. I learned a couple of things today, for sure. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
See you.
Thank you. Bye.